So glad to have you with us. Now, we have some very interesting guests who are going to join us for this brief stream we're going to do today. These are people involved with a project, building solidarity, building kind of an encampment movement among people that are interested in social justice and working and struggling for peace and such. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. Folks from Camp DADA, an interesting project, are going to be joining us today. So it's going to be exciting. So we'll just do the opening music and then we'll bring on our guests, quite a few of them.
The American century. I say that the century on which we are entering can be and must be the century of the common man.
A radical redistribution of economic power.
I mean, we know that racism is a byproduct of capitalism. Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people.
We need a government that will make sure Americans are taken care of and organize the economy to serve the people, not the profits of a wealthy few.
We now have the techniques and the resources to get rid of poverty.
We got to start getting out there with the people.
Get out of the movement and get to the masses.
We need a government of action.
All righty. So now we're going to bring on our guests. First, we're having some internet difficulties here. It's a little slower than I would prefer, but I think we got this. All right. Apollo. Oh, and I guess there's one more person joining us, Shane. Yeah. All right, Shane is with us. So all of you folks are with a project called Camp DADA. So I think since you all are here, why don't we go around one by one and you explain what the project is about, and I guess maybe introduce yourselves first. We'll go to the project next. So why don't you each introduce yourselves, tell us who you are, and then we'll go from there. So we want to start with fellow Welker.
Hi, I'm fellow Welker. I am currently, I guess, a community organizer. I'm a student, just a human. I'll let Lucy go now.
Hi, my name is Lucy. I started, I had a very small YouTube channel, which I've actually temporarily put on pause to help organize this. It's called Blue Moon Red Wine, and basically I started because somebody had the idea originally for a healthcare march, actually, like a women's healthcare march, and then it was supposed to be in DC, and then what ended up happening was, like, someone suggested, there's a lot of protests in DC, but it seems like mobilization, not organization. So basically people get pumped, they come together, it's an event, and then we all go home. But there's a lot in between. There's a lot to do in between, and in the spaces in between those events that we're not really doing very well amongst each other. So we need to come together and organize in a more low-key way. It's not just about the moment of the protest. So that's basically how we came to this idea that we need to find a way to build community. And we thought that it would be easier to do over a period of several days. So that's how this camping idea came about.
Great. Jay?
Yeah, hi, how's everyone doing? My name is Jay. I go by Apollo on Twitter. That's where probably most of you guys know me. Most of my experience has been just primarily electoral politics. So this is my first time doing anything. And I've attended a few protests here and there, but most of my experience has been in the electoral realm. I sort of stepped away from that, but now I'm just trying to organize with you guys. This will be my first time camping, so I'm just looking forward to it. Don't really have much more to say after that.
Straya?
Hey, yeah. So I am a mutual aid organizer. I work with a few different organizations. I'm a street medic. And I came to politics, communism, through personal experience. I grew up homeless. I've always been working class, lived at or below the poverty level. And so I've witnessed and experienced all different kinds of systemic or police violence. And so I know what it's like on a very personal level and what it's like to, feel isolated, and how important it is that when we're building systemic change and transformative justice, we need to have human connections with people and in-person human connections, not just online, because the internet and social media are really structured to promote conflict. So one of the reasons I'm really excited about Camp DADA is we're taking all different activists who are spread out online nationally and bringing them together in person so that we can have more solidarity and connection between our mutual aid networks and political organizing.
Wow, well, this reminds me of some of what we've done with the Center for Political Innovation. We've had some retreats and gatherings with a lot of singing, a lot of classes, group activities. It's a shame I won't be able to attend your workshop coming up. I'm back in New York, and I'll be very busy at that particular time with the UN General Assembly coming up. But I guess, if you all want to go around once again and talk about what exactly is planned, because I really like this idea of in-person communities, people getting together, seeing each other face to face, because what Straya just said about the internet being designed to tear people apart and make it hard for people to get along is so true. Absolutely true. So
honestly,
go ahead, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Please.
I just wanted to keep going off what you said about like the internet and everything. I think it's like even before the internet. Look at the way our cities are structured. Look at the way like our community spaces are being taken over by developers and, everything else. But I think like the main thing that we wanted to come together to do is share skills. We have like gardening, food prep, like propagation. We have people that are versed in like street medic skills like Straya. We have people that are doing like self-defense and stuff like that. Like we're just sharing our skills so that way we can take those back to our individual locations and continue to build in our own local places. And then also like just trying to, like Jay said, like not everyone's like comfortable outdoors. Not everyone like has the ability to like, be in those spaces. So we want to help each other be in those spaces. Really just bring joy to this intense and serious work that we're doing all of the time. And then of course, like building community is the number one thing. But yeah, that's my perspective.
Blue Moon, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so basically, this idea, like we've kind of been refining it over the period that we've been working on it. And so far we have a few tenets, basically. One of them is no electoral politics. So if you're interested in electoral politics, that's great. You can do it on your own, but it won't be part of this. You know what I mean? The second thing is like just skill sharing. So like fellow Welker said, people bringing things to the camp and showing their knowledge to others, whether it's like survival skills, people showing how to survive a disaster or how to unionize their workplace, different skills that we need to have that we can do outside of electoral politics. And then the third one would just be actually what I would call rest and revolution. And people have taken pot shots at this because they say, oh, this is just like a vacation. First of all, it's not really a vacation because you're going to learn things. But is there anything wrong with it if it was a vacation? So what I like to think about it as, at least from like my background and like understanding of social tourism in Argentina, for example, is the idea of social tourism, the idea that working people should be able to afford a vacation, that they shouldn't feel guilty about taking a vacation, and that camping, even though it is like the cheapest form of vacation, is actually really inaccessible to a lot of people. So if we can kind of deploy mutual aid in a way like this, even if it wasn't without the skill sharing, in order to get people to go out and to get out to green spaces, which have been taken over really by the wealthy, that isn't a waste of time or a waste of money. So that I'll leave that there.
Yeah, and to add to what Blue Moon is saying, part of what we're going to be doing is, as part of why we're called Camp DADA, is, bringing up the Dada movement. We're going to be doing art activism. We're going to be in the Hamptons, and we're not sharing the location yet because of infiltrators and all of that.
Sure.
But we're going to be, bringing art activism to rich people's spaces, because the earth really belongs to all of us. It's shared by all people, but private property for profit, passing down wealth through family lines, has taken it away from working class people and really, divided humanity from each other even more. So that's part of what's really beautiful about doing camping and activism integrated together, is we're reclaiming poor people joy, and we're really saying that, like, the earth belongs to all of us. And I love that we're doing these creative art activism projects, because it really shows the creativity of the working class, because art has become the domain of the wealthy.
Neat. What are your thoughts, Apollo?
So before I continue, I just wanted to say that Shane did text me. He said he's backstage waiting to join.
Oh, okay. I guess that's right.
There he is. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So like I said, this would be my first time camping. But to add on to what Blue Moon said, a lot of it is teaching skills that people should have, which just from talking to other friends and whatnot, are skills that most Americans do lack. As far as like survival skills go, as far as self-sufficiency skills go. So I think it is like definitely a good learning opportunity, a good community building opportunity, and it's it's definitely something we need in order to be like more self-sufficient, more less dependent on the system, on government, as far as that goes. And I think it's just I guess one of the necessary skills for evolution, personally. That's all I can really say about that.
Cool. Well, Shane, if you want to unmute and jump in, we'd be happy to hear from you. Shane, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here. How you guys?
Maybe introduce yourself and then also give us your thoughts on all of this.
All right. Well, my name is Shane. I'm from Queens, New York, and I just like joining, organizing. I've been to the Pfizer one. I've been to the Medicare for All in Washington D.C. So whenever I hear of a good organization, I like to just jump in.
Very good. And what are your thoughts on the upcoming activities?
I'm interested in all of it. I like gardening. I like learning Skillshare. I used to do a little bit of gardening, so that kind of excites me. And I also like about the writing letters to people in prison. Like a lot of the activities interest me.
Very good. All right. Well, I guess now it's been mentioned, and when I looked into to this as I was kind of reading about it, there's a school of art called Dadaism, I guess, and that's part of the inspiration. That's why you're called Camp Dada, I understand. So maybe if we want to go around, do you guys want to explain what Dadaism is and how it's an influence on the art that you're planning to do?
Lucy, I think this is all you.
Sure. So there was like a lot of back and forth. This was someone else's idea to call this Camp Dada. And the reason it was chosen was because Dada can be said in any language. It doesn't actually mean anything, but it was an artistic movement, like half artistic and half political. And part of the idea to focus on art is as the state becomes more and more oppressive, you have to think of more and more creative ways to express yourself. You're not going to always be able to aggressively protest things. So I've gotten questions about this, why aren't you being extremely disruptive? Well, first of all, everyone wants to be disruptive, but everyone wants someone else to be disruptive. So the reality is that you need some kind of organizational bond, and you need to be very, very well organized. And second, people also need inspiration, you know? So anything that people can provide in that vein, like art, music, you know, even if it's just like making more artistic signs. A lot of Hollywood, I don't know if you've noticed that Hollywood and like a lot of musicians these days are really like supporting the Democratic Party really heavily. And musicians, artists, you know, like traditionally they were supposed to be very independent minded, you know, not like following the crowd. And now there seems to be like the arts are seem to be very co-opted. So the idea is really to take back art, you know, take back like music, take back political expression. And it doesn't really matter if you don't if you label yourself a leftist or you know, whatever you label yourself. It's more about like bringing back independent thought and artistic expression and having it be the domain of, you know, like working people and not just whatever Hollywood is pushing, etc.
Yeah, and I would add to that art, even when it's, you know, art by these mainstream wealthy musicians, art is political, but what is the political agenda being put forward? And right now it's stories of romance, things that make us focus on our personal lives and our personal worth and value, attaching that to how other people perceive us rather than collectivism, friendship. Basically, what I'm saying is the focus of art right now is consumption and identity and structures of identity around, you know, what do we buy and how do we identify with what we buy and what our entertainment is. And then we have stan culture where people are fighting with each other over whose musician has more awards. When really art, really like, you know, really good working class art is something that inspires people and also provides catharsis and really sees you and brings people together in that, like, yes, I have that pain. Yes, I see that that's a problem. And yeah, we need more of that.
Yeah.
Wow. Go ahead, Apollo.
It's a little bit of a side tangent, but to what Blue Moon and Stray were saying, I just remembered that a few months ago I learned how two rappers, Kanye and Jay-Z, they were banned from working together, from making music together, because one of them had a deal with Reebok and another one had a deal with Nike. And so because of that, because of capitalism, because of like money interest involved, you know, they just couldn't work together when, like, you know, they couldn't make music they want to make. So I mean, like, you have money literally controlling the entertainment we hear, and it's like, and that's controlling the art that we see and the music that we hear. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely like corrupting and poisoning the entire like what art and music and everything's supposed to be. So just want to add on to that.
Interesting. Now, Straya, when you spoke, you mentioned communism. I mean, is this an explicitly Marxist thing? Are you going to have classes on Marx and Lenin and stuff like that, like we do at the Center for Political Innovation, or?
No. I think that, yeah, and Phil Walker, you can come in. I think that
I'm sorry, I just wanted to say that I think we voted either last week or the week before to actually remove leftists from our like mission and replace it with independent, because we all agree that it's not about labels. We're not doing this to further the leftist agenda. We're not doing this for a specific purpose other than the three issues that we all came together on. And I know I'm going to forget all three of them, but Medicare for all, I believe it was housing. What was the third one?
General strike.
Yeah, general strike.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So those are the three tenets that we all believe in, and that's why we're doing this. Is because, like, in this process of fighting for these things, you know, we all are doing our own things in our personal lives. Some people are electoral politics. Some people, you know, don't believe in that. I am one of those people, but that is neither here nor there. But we're doing this because, like we've just been talking about, in art, in music, in the way our cities are, in every facet of our life, capitalism has taken control. and take in the love, take in the community. And I know it sounds cheesy to say the love, but literally taking the love away. And, you know, like to do something so simple as coming together, I think it's really going to have a big effect because we all have things that we can bring to the table, but we don't have the time to do it because capitalism literally takes all of our time away to keep us, you know, our heads down and keep moving on. And then like we don't have, you know, the funds to go on vacations and stuff like Blue Moon was talking about earlier. Like, you know, we're trying to give a space that we can rest, recuperate, and then go back and further our missions for those three things in our own local places. And like there's no space for that in our lives. Like the only time that you can spend like socializing, unless you're at a private property, is if you're spending money, is if you're buying drinks at a bar, or you're, you know, paying to go see fireworks, or you're paying to get into an amusement park, whatever. It's all about money. And we're trying to create spaces and hopefully create the confidence in the people who are there that they can take that back to their homes and continue it. So you said that you wish that you would kind of be able to be in our workshop. We would love to have you because we're trying to continue this. We don't want it to just be a one-time thing. We want to be able to build these bonds throughout our entire country. And we're actually doing some mirror actions during Camp DADA. So we're going to be trying to have people that aren't able to come, or people that are just really interested in, you know, furthering it in their local spot. We're going to have mirror actions for them as well, which will be all on our, you know, Twitter, stuff like that. Sorry, I'm not in charge of social, so I don't know all that, but yeah.
Sounds like you're very well organized and you know what you've got planned ahead. Well, you know, those three things that you've come around, I guess, right, which is you know, canceling student debt, right, Medicare for all, and a general strike. I mean, those are things that I think a lot of people could agree with, right, that you know, that we need to get rid of student debt. We need Medicare for all. And the idea of working people asserting their needs through some kind of mass mobilization, some big strike, is something that I think a lot of people could agree on. And I'll certainly do my best to try and highlight your actions as they go on. I know you don't want to get specific about what you've got planned, but it sounds very, very exciting. I guess, you know, let me ask, you know, one thing that I did hear coming up is the need for people to come together and to be together, because I have noticed that, you know, the internet is just so full of everyone's got a dossier on everybody. Everyone's got everyone's bad tweets shared and everything that ever happened, every interaction. And it just is so good at just pulling people apart, right? And building community and organizing and resisting capitalism is about bringing people together. Right, it's about trying to hold people together, and you know, people make mistakes and all of that, but it's about trying to have a group of people that work together, struggle together, learn together, and that's why I'm so inspired by the fact that you're doing this, and it reminds me of some of the stuff that we've done. You know, the need of people to just kind of get off the internet, and if you disagree with somebody, talk to them about it person to person, right? You know, have real interactions where you can say, well, you know, I think this, well, I think that, and it doesn't turn into a big internet blow up where everyone's trying to own everyone else and all of that. Instead, it's a real interaction where you're learning from each other. I think that's very, very valuable, because these social media outlets, they have monetized people fighting with each other, and it's just deeply unfortunate to see. I guess maybe, you know, you all didn't get into too much detail about how you got involved in this kind of activism and stuff. Do we want to go around and maybe have people give a little bit more biographical information about how they became an organizer, how they got attracted to doing something like Camp DADA? Do we want to go around again, fellow Welker?
I don't like to share too much of my personal life online, but I will say that I've always been very vocal about my opinions, and that's always upset people throughout my life, even as a child. I was always too smart for my own good, or, you know, children should be seen, not heard. So when I went into high school and then when I was in college, I started getting involved with like social justice a little bit. And then May 30th, 2020, my friend asked me to come to a protest for George Floyd in my city. and I went with her. I just wanted to be with her. I wasn't planning on being involved. I was just planning on, supporting. And that day I was maced. I was exposed to tear gas. I was pushed into a statue from police officers in riot gear, and this was for standing on a public sidewalk at 4 p.m. on a Saturday. And yes, I was using my First Amendment right, but I'm allowed to do that, or at least that's what our Constitution says that we're allowed to do. So I was doing that, and that's what happened. And then after that, I was literally out there every single day for the next 3 weeks. There was times we had large crowds, there was times we didn't, but I was just out there every single day. I ended up getting connected with other community organizers, and we created an anti-police brutality coalition. I was elected on the leadership committee of that twice. And I've just been trying to, get involved in wherever I'm at, because I have moved recently, but I've always just trying to get involved wherever I am. And yeah, I'm also a coach, so I work with kids. I'm lucky enough to help influence them and their lives, all non-politically, of course, because that's requirements. But, I don't think you need to be specifically political to make an impact. Which is also the kind of point of Camp DADA, because, there are certain things are inherently political that we love to put labels on things as humans. We love to, this is leftist, this is right, but then you realize, there are right-wing people that believe that we should have Medicare for all. There are right-wing people, and realizing where you connect instead of focusing on where you're different and where you're separated, which we're literally by design taught to be separated. Like, our whole fundamental political system, Democrats, Republican, it's all bullshit. That's just my opinion. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss in here. I'm sorry. But
Go ahead.
That's just how I feel. So any chance that I get to, do what I believe is right, I do it. I don't care what the labels are. I don't care, who I'm working with. If I'm furthering my position to help people's literal material lives, I don't care. I just do it. And I think that is a huge barrier sometimes too for other people, when they think if I'm not an activist who's got, thousands of followers on Twitter, or who's got, people listening to me every day, that you can't make a difference. But it's really not about that. It's literally what Shane said. It's he saw movements that he believed in, and he went and asked them, hey, how can I help you? What can I do for you? How can I, be of service? And that's what it is, being of service to ourselves and something bigger to ourselves. That's my, political goals, I guess.
I actually stream a lot, so I'm just gonna pass the mic.
Okay, Shane?
Yeah, all right. So I got into organizing through Twitter. I know that sounds crazy, because I didn't really know other activists, and then when I got on Twitter, I met Jay, and I met a bunch of other people, and then they told me, hey, let's meet up, let's do this, let's do that. And I said, yeah, why not? So that's basically how I got into it.
Okay.
I feel I'm sorry, I just want to say something about what Shane just said, because I think that's a thing too, is that it's balance, I think we go to extremes so much, the internet's great, the internet's bad, it's not like that. It's because also with with more leftist ideals, things like that, you don't really see people talking about that too much in our day-to-day lives. I don't have a lot of people who are as vocal as I am about what I believe in. And so sometimes the only time I can find those people is online. So use it. Don't be afraid to use the internet to get connected, like Shane said, but also don't let it consume you and make you forget that other people are there behind those screens.
Yeah. I agree 100% with what you just said. That's basically how I got into this, because I just had an open mind, and I met these guys, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go raise some, So that's how I got into it.
I want to add to what fellow Welker and Shane are saying, tying that back into what we were saying about labels, and also bring in the idea of identity as well as branding, and how we're being encouraged to like brand ourselves, which is, if you really think about it, dehumanizing. But also labels tie into the idea of identity, and then we come into the internet, and when we talk about balance, what we're saying is everything has a harmful use and a helpful use, and it's really about being mindful and conscientious about what impact are we having. So identity politics is something that gets brought up a lot. It's something that can create solidarity around shared suffering. And it's also something that can create division when it's weaponized, and especially when it's weaponized against the working class. And what we're doing by coming around shared issues of importance is we're bringing people together around solidarity of shared suffering, shared experience, people of all different kinds of identities, so that we can learn from one another and see where that takes us, rather than labeling each other as bad based on systemic problems that have really been forced on all of us.
Paulo, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as my background goes, I do have a fairly privileged background. So I'm surrounded by a lot of liberals, a lot of right-wingers. So there was no inherent need of activism in my personal life. So, like you guys said, I actually needed the internet. I needed Twitter to make friends and to make connections that I normally wouldn't get in my personal life. And when the pandemic hit, I sort of had to go away from like real life connections, because of the pandemic, and I got closer to people on Twitter and that sort of stuff. And and people like Shane actually, and others who introduced me to activism, who introduced me to all kinds of things. So that was actually for me a very, very useful tool, because I got to get, I got connections, I got friends that I normally wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And that's how I got involved personally. That's how I got involved in electoral politics. I finally joined Twitter. It was like, wow, a breath of fresh air. This is what someone who's not a total fucking right winger sounds like. It was very refreshing for me. But yeah, that's. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's all. Go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, and so that's how one thing led to another, basically, and I got involved in electoral politics, and after that, I left electoral politics for reasons we don't really want to get into right now. But then I got I got to meet people like Shane and other friends who introduced me to protests and community organizing, and that's how I ended up here.
Very good. Well, it sounds like you guys have a lot of exciting things in the works, and you're not getting specific about them right now, which is great. So we're all going to be surprised. So we'll be keeping our eyes on your Twitter account, and I'm really glad that you came on here to say that. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Let me add, if this is the last, it sounds like a concluding statement, so let me just add some stuff.
Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Okay, first of all, so we have a limit, just because it's hard to organize more than a certain amount of people, of around 50 people. For this event. The idea in general for Camp DADA is that it's something that anyone can do anywhere. So basically, this is not something that's trademarked. It's just something to get started, so that people that cannot participate in this event think about how to take this movement or whatever it is forward in a decentralized way. So it's not supposed to be a one-size-fits-all solution that's going to, we can't do everything. So the idea is to keep it decentralized. For this event, we do have a few open spots, which are filling up fast. I think it's like 5 or 6. So if you're interested, you can definitely get in touch with InfoChange Camp. Our camp is going to be in the New York area, so it's easier to get in touch if you're on the East Coast, with priority given to anybody that hasn't been camping before.
And also women of color, because we are trying to keep it balanced, and we just
and there's more dudes now, beautiful right now. Slightly more dudes. Wow. But if you're a guy and you want to come, by all means, get in touch, because we don't want to have free spots open. So so that's for this camp. And then there's going to be a lot of mirror actions too for ways to participate if you're not actually going. And we also have something in the works for a West Coast Camp DADA, which we're going to start, like somebody might potentially start in the month afterwards, after September. So if you're interested in West Coast Camp DADA, by all means, we're going to like keep an eye on Info Change Camp. That's the tag, and you can join West Coast Camp DADA if you're on the West Coast. If you're interested in planning something like this in your area, the idea is to build out the infrastructure for how can we build something that's decentralized, that helps us build bonds and that's not focused on a single issue. Because a lot of this like single issue activism is kind of getting us wrapped up in, oh, you know, like I really want student debt canceled, or I want to focus on police brutality, or I want to focus on the other thing. And part of this is like coming together and saying like, look, how can I grow a relationship with you and work on you what you need for 10 minutes of my life, so that after that's over, you can help me for 10 minutes of your life. and without that relationship, like even if it seems silly to just like go camping, and it doesn't have to be camping either. If you hate camping, then it could be like a day event, you know, like the one that you had with CPI USA. So you know, this is just another form of relationship building, and I hope people get involved if they want to.
All right. Well, it sounds great, and I'll be really excited to see what comes out of it. Thank you all for coming on to let our community here on this YouTube channel know about what you've got in the works, and I'll be excited to see what you have coming up. You know, your Twitter. What's the Twitter handle once more? Let's get the Twitter handle. It's what, Info Camp, something like that.
Info Change Camp. Yeah, and if and all of the donations that we're taking in will be feeding the organizers and the activists, and it'll be helping get gear for people that aren't able to get it. I know you said something, you kind of wanted a little bit more of like our day-to-day. So we do have like to make sure that it is a skills focused like campus, we are having like workshops every day. So we do have like scheduled things that the people that are attending have to meet. We're cooking for each other. Yeah, so it's just going to be a lot of skill sharing. And then we're hoping to do some mirror actions. I guess I'll just tell you like one idea like we had was like a cleanup. So people in their own areas could host a cleanup, and then hopefully do the same things that we're doing, come together, get to know each other, and create bonds.
And I just wanted to add a detail because it's important to me, is that all of the supplies that are being donated, like cooking options and tents and sleeping bags, are then going to be donated to homeless people.
Okay.
Good point. I totally forgot that. Yes, we are going to be repurposing everything that we get. And then, like I said earlier, we're trying to do this again. So if you're interested, if you like what you heard, if you want to get involved, even if you don't know what that'll look like, just reach out to our Twitter, at InfoChangeCamp.
All right. Well, great. All right. Thank you, everybody. And I wish you a great Camp DADA. Very good. All right.
Bye.